The misery index of the 1970s, a combination of the unemployment and inflation rates, may be returning as we get hammered by rising inflation and unemployment. Created to measure the felt pain of the average citizen, it became a political club used by Jimmy Carter to attack Gerald Ford, but was used even more effectively by Ronald Reagan against Carter, whose policies had made it worse. We especially see its impact today in rising lumber and gasoline costs. It makes for an interesting discussion on the pages of those who care to debate the issue. That means not here. For the Christian, sin is the real misery index. Whether in our own lives or others, we should feel the pain of sin. And if we don't love God enough to feel sorrow over sin, we will feel it in judgment, either temporal or eternal. Today's Sunday's struggles returns to the prophet Habakkuk, who was wrestling with God over Judah's misery index and his method of dealing with Judah's sin. Habakkuk wanted God to stop the evil in Judah, but balked over a more evil nation, like Babylon, being God's instrument of punishment. When confronted with his own inconsistency, in his mind Judah's sin wasn't as bad as Babylon's, he quit arguing and submitted to God's will. However, his new understanding of the true awfulness of sin and its subsequent punishment drove him to his knees in sorrow. In his sorrow, he penned one of the most poignant descriptions of faith and practice ever written. I trembled inside when I heard this. My lips quivered with fear. My legs gave way beneath me, and I shook in terror. I will wait quietly for the coming day when disaster will strike the people who invade us. Habakkuk 3, verse 16. And then he said, even though the fig trees have no blossoms, and there are no grapes on the vines, even though the olive crop fails, and the fields lie empty and barren, even though the flocks die in the fields, and the cattle barns are empty, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in the God of my salvation. That's verses 17 and 18. Do we trust God, or have we here in America become so accustomed to prosperity, despite our sin, that we've lost our sense of sorrow over sin? Do we no longer fear God's punishment? Do we think our current cultural and economic problems are unfair and undeserved and reject the possibility it is God's righteous judgment? Or have they convinced us of the awfulness of sin, individual and collective? If the misery index continues to get worse, will we be able to say, if there is no gas in the tank, food in the fridge, or money in the bank, and creditors have taken my home, yet I will rejoice in the Lord, I will be joyful in the God of salvation? Some food for thought in today's Sunday struggles on Morning Minutes in the Bible. Thank you for watching. Until tomorrow, this is James McClenny hoping you have a great day.